But now to some more detail on one of our other main stories, because in the last half an hour, police have actually named a man who died following that explosion at a property in Swansea yesterday. Bradley Harris is on the street for us tonight. Bradley, good evening to you. What more do we know?
Well, that man, Dan, who has died in this gas explosion, this suspected gas explosion, has been formally identified as Brian Davies, who's 68 years old. His family are currently being supported by specialist trained officers. A police cordon still remains in place here on Clydach Road. But right now, South Wales Police are continuing to investigate what caused this suspected gas explosion. Firefighters wade through the rubble after an entire home was blown to pieces. It's been over 24 hours since the unimaginable happened in Swansea. This was the junction between Field Close and Clydach Road before the suspected gas explosion took place. Now debris lives on these streets as residents wait for answers.
You know, you try and process in your mind, what have I just experienced, where a building shakes and the noise of, we didn't know what it was. We all shot up and went out into the back garden looking at the building, not knowing what in God's name has just happened. And I saw it. It was horrendous.
Trapped in the rubble, a post van. We're told the driver is being treated for injuries. He was covering this man who was off yesterday.
He went to hospital, but he's having treatment, take glass out of his face today and stuff like that. So, hopefully it'll be good news. He's okay though, I think. Yeah?
Police have launched an investigation after the body of a man who died was found during a search of the scene. The blast also left 3 people hospitalised. One of them was a child who's now been discharged. Well, the clean-up operation begins today, and look at it. There is so much work to be done. This road is covered in hundreds and hundreds of roof tiles scattered all over this street, shards of glass from where windows have been blown to pieces. Emergency services are trying their best to speed up this process because residents just want to get home. The community have been working behind the scenes to keep people warm, fed and sheltered. A pub just down the road from the explosion has been helping residents with nowhere to go.
All the police came over and they asked if we could have coffee, so we accommodated all the residents. They came here before coming up to the memorial up the road. We just gave them free teas and coffees to everyone basically, and then we took over pizzas to obviously the emergency response teams down the road.
The council hope to get people home as soon as possible, but said some will be in temporary accommodation for quite some time. The rescue operation may have ended, but the impact from this blast will be felt for many years.
Well, let's go back to Bradley live, because, Bradley, we've seen the photographs from yesterday and we've seen some pretty graphic pictures as well in your piece there. I imagine, you know, being there on the street and seeing that face to face, you must get a real sense of the scale of that explosion.
Dan, it's extraordinary. You don't really get a proper sense of how big this blast had an impact on some of the homes here until you turn up to this street. Just take a look at it. One house completely brought down into rubble. Emergency services are currently still going through it all, trying to clean up the mess that it's left behind. There's even still on the street here, roof tiles. Still on the street, I've just picked up one now, still scattered all over the road. That's come off from some of the houses here because, of course, it's not just one home that's been completely destroyed. Another one is severely damaged just to the right-hand side there. And a row of houses, all these neighbours have had to be evacuated. Of course, they're not in a safe condition. Currently, the investigation by South Wales Police is continuing. Wales and West Utilities, which is the gas supplier for this street, are still doing extensive checks to try and work out what the cause of this suspected gas explosion was. But residents here are completely stunned by what has happened over the last 24 hours. They've been describing how they've heard and felt the explosion, how windows have been smashed to pieces and doors literally blown off. Many of those residents are now being housed in temporary accommodation or held elsewhere in community centres where they're being supported until they can return home.
You say they're stunned, Bradley. You talk about the shock of what's happened, but the response from the community has been remarkable.
Absolutely incredible. Earlier on, I went to the Red Lion pub, and yesterday they were handing out teas and coffees, pizzas, not just to residents, but to the emergency services. A lot of people here have described the police, the fire service, as being very quick to respond. Just down the road is the fire station, the police station is nearby, and so is the hospital, which has been a blessing, really, to supporting the people that have been impacted by this. But it's not just the emergency services. So many people, Dan, have been coming forward, offering phone chargers, blankets, all sorts, to try and help people really get through these next few difficult days.
Good to talk to you, Bradley. Thank you very much. That's Bradley Harris, live for us in Swansea.